Whether it's that you're too loud or you don't fit into spaces, or being taken advantage of by the very dear ones who are meant to protect us, or just shamed by the stature of our bodies or the things we are biologically inclined to as a woman, we really do go through it all. It is a month for International Women's Day, and on that note, I'm so excited to be here talking about some of the terrible things that I have gone through as a woman. Now, not from a place of shame, not from a place of pain, because thankfully I've been able to do the work and heal from these things over time. However, I really do hope that this video brings awareness to some and healing to others. And on that note, let us jump right into it. So the big thing that I've never discussed openly is my case of sexual assault and rape escape. April is a month for creating awareness around those things, and I will go into details about my own experiences. But however, this is just saying that when I was younger, had a teacher who took advantage of me, and this is a teacher who, number one, my parents trusted. Okay, he was so caring and no one would have ever seen it coming. And I know that he was definitely targeting women, even though I did hear of some cases of where he assaulted male as well. So that's to say, men too face these things on a daily basis, but let's face it, women are the highest culprits on that ladder. And having a female child myself, I just really hope that I have this space and I have this conversations to be able to really create awareness around these things and remove the shame from it. Because let's face it, shame is the number one thing that keeps abusers and even those being abused in secrecy. And just because you can't air it out, there's a shame associated to it. You just have to keep quiet. Trust me, there's so many adults walking around who are carrying trauma from sexual assault or stuff from their childhood just because they've never voiced it out to anybody. So I'm making room for that and taking space for all of us to say, if you've ever been a part of this, I really hope that we can tell our stories, also obviously in safe spaces and after you have healed from it, just to make sure that we're creating more awareness and shedding light on these issues. And like I said, for me, it was a teacher who my parents trusted, who I trusted. And thankfully, even though it wasn't the whole 9 yards, let me tell you, there is no highest point of sexual assault. If it has to do with any part of your body that they know they should not be trespassing to, it is called sexual assault. There is no high degree, second degree. Obviously, we know it varies. Penetration will be that of highest degree. For some, it's forceful penetration. And guess what? Sexual assault, even some cases, might feel like both abusers and the person being abused are consensual. But if the origin was that I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, and with time that other person started enjoying it, it is still sexual assault. But then again, this is not the space to go into the entirety of my story. The second case for me was a friend, a dear male friend that I also trusted. At this time, I was even more mature. I was like in my late teens, and it was just a case of you're really going to do me like this, like door locked and all that. And that's one of the most terrible things I've ever had to endure as a woman. If I think about how I felt in those moments, especially the one that happened with me being older, the feeling of insecurity that I have, feeling very unsafe around someone who I thought was, my dear friend. It is obviously a very unsafe world for women, and I really hope that as we drive this awareness, the perpetrators will be able to come to the realization that women are no more sitting back and will not just hide in shame. If they know that there is a repercussion for their secrets to be exposed, maybe in some way, shape or form, that will stop them from doing more harm to women. And unfortunately, last thing I'll say about this is that in both cases, one, I had to really advocate for myself when I was younger. It's so wild, honestly. I'm going to go into the whole thing later in another video. It is so wild. But having to advocate for myself like that and just look someone in the face who was meant to protect me, I had to be termed the angry little lady. I had to be termed you're too loud. And the second case as well was where I was just tired. I had no more fight in me. I was almost going to surrender before they realized that what's going on here. Maybe the fighting was what was helping them to feel like they could control me. But the moment I just released, I'm just like, I can't help myself, so I might as well stop fighting. They actually got off and stopped doing what they were planning to do. So that takes me to my second point, which is that of you are too loud. The first thing is, let's face it, woman to woman. I once led a team in my workplace, and the people I had the most issues with were the women, even in the group. We hear this narrative of women supporting women, but let's face it, I feel like deep within our core, there's so much strife and jealousy, even between us as women. And so when you see a woman who feels like she's so confident in herself, she's taking on the world, there's so many stigma attached to that. Oh, she's too loud. Oh, she's too controlling. Oh, she's gonna see what this will get her into. Oh, there's so many things, right from the workplace to even when we then get married, just because I dared to have a voice. But guess what? That's not going to stop me. And that's what I want to also really express here, to say, if as a woman you really feel this deep desire and call to be loud, please be loud. Be loud in advocating for yourself. Be loud in advocating for your loved ones. Now, I don't care if anybody calls me the angry black mom in my kids' school. One thing I'm going to do, no matter how subtle you think the issue is, I'm going to speak up for the ones I love. I'm going to speak up for my children. So whether it's advocating for my children in their schools, and I even live in a predominantly white tea community, I don't care. Tag me all you want to tag me. And I know that this is also beyond races. Even, back home, even within Africans, we've heard of different things that happen. Some people feel like, oh, the color of my skin is lighter, so I can, be more racist to this person. Some people just feel gender against gender, or within gender groups. There's so much going on in terms of antagonizing one another and being against one another. Then bless you, you're then loud on top of it as a woman. But like I said, be who you are. Be confident in your voice. Be confident in exactly who God made you to be, because that is how the world is going to hear you. That is how you're going to deposit everything God has put into you on this earth and pass it down and be a solution to generations to come. So whether it's advocating for your children in the school, whether it's advocating for your loved ones in hospitals, bruh. Listen, let's not get into mortality rate in, say America, for example. It's wild. Black women especially, the issues that we face. And a lot of times what I've seen is people who are just like, very cautious, very gentle with, okay, no problem, you say. But if I confidently feel like something is wrong, I think that you're cheating me just because of the color of my skin. One time I started to feel like a doctor was insinuating that because I'm black, I should have a higher threshold for pain. I called it out immediately. Oh, I've had doctors apologize to me, because that's one thing I don't play about in the healthcare system. You better do what you're about to do. You better take accountability for what you have done. Because another thing is to just shush it off and write them, don't worry, it's an oversight. So own it and apologize for it. And sometimes it's not even for me. It's also for the people coming behind me. I remember this was in Rome, when I traveled to Rome late last year. I was taking a picture, and I'd asked one of the security guys to say, is it okay to take a picture here? It was like a taller, standard, for the lack of a better word. And they were like, oh yeah, they excused me. And then someone who was the color of my skin, not a woman, a man, just came and he was just like, get down from there, like very rude. I'm like, number one, you're doing that to me? Like, look at us. We actually have the same color of skin. And then I told my friend, I can't get over this one. I'm going to say this to him, not just for me. Like, he has embarrassed me. What's happened has happened. But I'm going to let this be a seed in his heart for when maybe my child is here one day, or maybe he's in a position to oppress or, be mean and rude to another black person. So I took my translator and I wrote it there that, why are you mean, especially to me who have the same color of skin like you? And then he replied saying that, that he's sorry, that he didn't want his boss to come. And I'm like, I explained to you that, I already got permission to take pictures there and stuff. And that's one place you find me advocating when, it just feels like you're trying to take advantage of me, or you're being mean to me because of my gender or my race. I must speak up. I must speak up. And I just really hope that we take on that energy. I mean, you don't have to shout or scream. Obviously, we also have the help of the Holy Spirit. But one thing I'm going to do is be firm, okay? I'm going to be firm, and you cannot cheat me. And I just really hope that we all imbibe that and speak up when we should. In terms of being loud, you must have heard before that when you're quiet or when you're forming neutral, you actually take the side of the oppressor. So if you see something wrong, call it out. Sometimes it's just even a whisper to say, nah, that's wrong. And that's it, you're on your way, but you've sown a seed to make that person know for generations to come that don't do that. I've had women to women, I have stories for days. At some point, it's even not maybe because I'm black, but if I flip it, is that, and this had to do with airports, like the first time, I was right on time to the counter, and then my box was overweight, but I didn't take advantage of my 10 kg. So instead of paying for extra weight, I'm like, hold on a second, let me go find out I can get another box. And by the time I came back, I was like maybe 2 minutes past the counter closing. I know if it was a black man, sister girl might have said, you know what, just go. But I feel like woman to woman, and I may be wrong, but that was exactly what I felt. Number one, we're both black. And number two, woman to woman. This was in New York, JFK. Number two, she's just like, no. I'm looking at her like, no, you're going to let me enter this plane, be for real. My commute to this airport was 2 hours. And she was just like, sorry, no. I'm like, girl, she was African American or maybe Caribbean. I'm just like, girl, wow. And it happened again in, I think this was in Columbus, right? But thankfully, this other person was even more, relaxed, and she put me on the next flight. But in terms of, oh, I'm sorry, just let me go, she was like, nope, that's not going to happen. It do be your own people. It do be your own people, right? So again, I could talk more and more about this, husband's house shenanigans of, but we all know. I feel like this, we all know, especially if you dare to have a voice, especially if you dare to be loud and you're very much displaying the passions that you carry and the voice God has put in you. There's a tendency for people to tag you controlling. There's a tendency for people to look at you and misname you. But guess what? Stand in your truth anyway. Be loud anyway. Because right now, best believe I am in my era of standing in my truth and using my voice. And I'm teaching my daughter the same thing. Oh, she's a free spirit. She's a free spirit who will go out and she's just like, I don't care what anybody has to say. I want to dance, I will dance here. Obviously, there is a caution line to say, oh, maybe right place, right time. But sometimes it's just the fear or the, oh, I don't want to be too much. Like the other day, she was dancing in the salon and, the timidity will want to say, no, it's okay, other people here, but there's nothing wrong with dancing. She's just dancing. She's just expressing herself. Dance on, girl. I'm just looking at her express herself and people are looking at her smiling. I'm just like, you better do you and touch your world in any way that you have to. The third thing I'm going to talk about has to do with me birthing my daughter. She's going to be 6 in May. So this was like almost 6 years ago. I'm still foggy. I had the cesarean section. Still foggy. Still trying to give her colostrum and navigate my way. First time mom. And then a family had come into the room to congratulate me. And I just heard it in the room. It was loud. Like it wasn't even a whisper to someone else. Oh, you had a girl. That one is for you. I am saying 2019, not 1920. I think I was just too shocked to even react. And I didn't have it in me. Like I had just been cut 7 layers deep. I was not about to start fighting or showing how loud I could get. Maybe I was not even this confident at that time. But that stayed with me for a while. And I don't think I really processed it until much later, But right now, what? Have you seen my girl? We're going to take on this world together. And when I'm long gone, she's going to still be busy taking on the world by the grace of God and standing in a rightful place as a woman that God has designed her to be. And it's funny because a part of me wanted to pet it when I then had a son as my second to say, okay, so what now? Like, so I was just like, what? Some battles we don't fight, right? It's obvious they can see it. If they think that this one is for them, well, whatever, good for you. But that's just to say how much this type of thing still exists in today's world. And having people who advocate for you too is so important because in that room that day, I just heard another person say, oh, whether it's a boy or girl, it's for us. Like I was too fuzzy to say anything, but someone stood up for me and advocated for me, and I really, really love that. But that's another thing that I've endured as a woman in this age. I remember also before I had kids as well, I've had someone tell me, oh, you don't have kids yet and you're acting like this. What would then happen when you have kids? And I'm like, for anything in this world you want to insult me about, go on. Maybe my career, maybe my looks, but something I have no control over. And let me tell you something, I see this shaming a lot. My mom has 4 girls, no boy. And I know it must have been worse in her days. That's why when they say, be gentle with your parents, this is their first time here. They're also navigating life. It is so true. Because I'm just imagining for my mom to the pressure around firstborn, a girl, secondborn, a girl, thirdborn, a girl, fourthborn, a girl, child, but own it, right? But for me, I was going to even address the ignorance that women are not even responsible for genders. It's the men. It's the men out here. If you pump X, you're going to keep getting X. The woman only has one to give. It's called X. X and Y make a boy. So the man can pump X or Y. If your chromosome keeps on bringing X, we're going to be having girl after girl after girl. but no, oh, it's the woman. She can't give him a boy. She can't give him a man. That's wild. Like, and then in what world is it even interesting that a guy has more value? It's the one that will carry on the family's name. I call BS. I call BS. Excuse my French. But anyway, unfortunately, I have experienced both, just even in the waiting season of what I can't control, been insulted through that time, and thankful that in those seasons there's a joy of the Lord that surpasses every human understanding. There is a peace as well, that doesn't make sense to human beings, that I can still hold on to and have a void that only Jesus can feel, that I had to lean on in those times, because I have a community of praying moms. It's called March to Motherhood. It's actually a baby too. It was after I had my daughter that the Holy Spirit placed it on my heart to start that gathering. And I hear stories every day. Someone recently shared how that her mother-in-law literally took her to a herbalist. They were wiping her. So why were they not wiping your husband though? Why was it only you they took? Like, it's interesting to be a woman. But yeah, what's the takeaway in all of this? The same thing I am still teaching myself and retraining myself. The same thing I'm passing on to my daughter, Esther. You are enough. As a woman, I really hope that you hear me on this International Women's Day Awareness Month, that you are enough. We're celebrating femininity, we're celebrating our womanhood, and I just want you to hear me from woman to woman that you are enough. Keep being you, keep showing up as your best self. You're not just enough, you're exactly what God made you to be. You're in God's agenda. You'll find yourself in the Bible, male and female, He made them both. So what? Let's take our place. Let's stand in our authority and just know that in all your mess, in all your loudness, in all your softness, in all your femininity energy, you are enough. You're everything and more. And I really hope this stays with you. I celebrate you today, woman to woman. I love you. I am rooting for you. I'm cheering you on. And the only way from here is up. Love you. Bye.
Whenever your heart is broken,